First of all, really pleased with the win. It's been the first time since I think I've been a head coach when we've been able to substitute, tried to get some guys in, some backup guys. Like I was one of those guys used to stand on the bench to have a chance to get in the game. But a lot of explosive plays, and we're pleased about that. I think the score on special teams, I think we scored twice on defense. Obviously, we had an explosion at the end of the first half offensively, so that was really encouraging. There's still a lot of room for improvement. We've got a young football team in some places, and so we're pleased with how we caught the ball today, made some progress there, so that's encouraging. The bye week couldn't come at a better time. We went into this game, tired and banged up. That was a really competitive Hawaii team that we beat out here a week ago, and so to come up with a win is really helpful. I think the only injury we had, Drew Von Manen had some stitches in his hand. There is no fracture, so he'll be okay. He was serviceable, but we just felt like we could go ahead and keep on snapping with Caleb. So this time I'll open up any questions anybody may have.
Would you say it's a team win? You did have some explosive offensive plays. Obviously, 2 defensive touchdowns in the special teams. Was this kind of the epitome of what a team win is all about?
Well, I think yes, it is, Robert, and I think it's an indication of we have more athleticism, more explosion on our football team. Anytime you can score on defense, I understand sometimes people would say that just happens by chance, but it's been my experience typically. When you have more athletic guys that are flying around, good things happen. And then, it's been a long time since I've been a head coach. We've had 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns back to back, and Coach Bath's done a good job with blocking up front, but I think Tyler Hall's an explosive return man.
Coach, you mentioned getting some backups in there. Just how valuable are those snaps when you can get people in real game situations?
Those things are really, really helpful. One, you practice all you want to, but until you get out in a game, it feels so much differently. And then also, just from a morale perspective, guys work hard in practice, and then for them to be able to be integrated into a game and play in a game-like situation, even though the score is pretty much decided, it was great to get those guys in.
Craig, you mentioned the defense. They scored the 2 touchdowns, but I thought Johanna really set the tone at that defensive tackle. He was just disruptive, as an understatement, but just the defense today, they even were put in some tough situations and still held up. That's had been encouraging today.
Yeah, it really has been, but they've been getting better. And the play of Johanna, I've seen, Johanna, I think, has an opportunity down the road to become a dominant defensive lineman. He's got the skills of quickness, explosion, and strength, and he's developing more instincts. And so it's great to see him make a lot of plays today. He was in the backfield an awful lot, but beyond him, there was a lot of other guys.
Coming off that tough game last week, did you feel a little bit of a slow start, but glad that they were able to kind of maintain after that slow start and just kind of play out the game at a high level?
Yeah. You know what? I can tell you this. So if you've tracked a lot of Texas State scores, they have played really, really well, and maybe their lack of depth. I had a long talk with Coach Withers before. They're in their second year and they're in a process, and so they've had a lot of guys that their depth is not where it needs to be, and I think we took advantage of that.
Coach, can you talk about C.J. Johnson? 2 touchdowns today. It seems like he really bounced back from last week. Can you tell me what you saw from him today?
Well, very rarely do I ever acknowledge anybody as an individual after a post game, and I did for C.J. He came back and had a lot of doubters, and he had some challenges during the week in practice, but he responded really well today.
But you mentioned the second quarter, but I think the third quarter too, you guys had a real long, sustained drive. Just what's that do for the offense when you can keep turning over the down?
Well, that was a point of emphasis at halftime. We had kind of had some good productivity against Gardner-Webb earlier, but if you remember the second half, that we just kind of meandered around. And so we wanted to come out. We had a long, sustained drive. We didn't do it right off the bat, but we did it the next drive. And I think that gives the offense a taste of what they can become.
He gave Trey the start, and he's been getting more carries. Just thoughts of the run game. I know at times it was good. I'm sure it was at times it was like to see it better. What were your thoughts? A little bit mixed
bag. We need to improve, and I think that there's some bright spots. But Robert, there's some areas where we've got to maintain blocks. Running backs got to find holes, and And when I talk about maintaining blocks, it's more than just the offensive line. It's the fullback, it's the tight end. But we have got to be able to run the ball better. We did better today. We'll go up against a stiff Utah State defense. We're going to have to be able to run the ball there.
Coach Tiller passed away this morning. I know you've had a chance to talk to him and get to know him a little bit. Just your thoughts on that.
Well, you know what? College football lost a great one today. Coach and I have spent some time together. He shared his insight into Cowboy football. He chose to come back and retire in this state. I knew he was challenged with his health lately. He meant a lot to me personally. I know he meant a lot to the University of Wyoming, but more so, he meant a lot to college football. If you survey my colleagues, they all have nothing but great things to say about Coach Tiller.